Thank you, Abby. And thank you to all of you. And thank you for having me here. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that we're actually here in person and doing this. So before we really get going, I want to tell you that that worry that you feel, this is something you may or may not already know, but that worry that you feel for your children, it never goes away. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. It never goes away. It just evolves. It changes into other things. I remember when my children were small. My children are both adults now. But when they were little, I worried about things like, was I setting the right foundation for them? Was I helping them to grow up to be independent and self-sufficient? And I remember one time before my husband was going on deployment, he was in the Air Force. My son, my oldest, was 3 years old, and I had a conversation with him. And I said to him, I said, okay, baby, it's going to be me and you. You're going to be the man of the house. And mommy needs you to be a big boy and help with cleaning up and picking up your toys. Can you help mommy clean? And he said, yes, ma'am. I said, way to go, Sylvia. Way to set that self-efficiency. Girl, you did that. And then a couple of days later, I'm in the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth and my baby walks in and he sees me. He just gets this big old smile on his face. And he said, Mommy, did you know you could clean your toothbrush in the toilet? I said, what, baby? He repeated it. And I thought back to the conversation I'd had a couple of days before about cleaning, and I realized that this was my fault because I hadn't set parameters. And he said, so I asked him the question that I was so afraid to hear the answer to. But the question had to be asked. And I said, baby, did you clean mommy's toothbrush in the toilet? I didn't ask him about his. And he said, yes, ma'am. So the worries, they just change, they evolve. I no longer worry about whether my kids are going to clean my toothbrush out in the toilet, but what I worry about is, will they get the job that they applied for? Did they get home safely last night? Are they in good relationships? Did you know that the number one worry that parents have for their children now is whether they will suffer from anxiety and or depression? And I bet you that doesn't come as a surprise to anybody here. But as moms, not only do we worry about our children, we worry about our effect on our children and our relationships with our children. By show of hands, can you let me know if you've ever asked yourself or wondered the following? Have you ever wondered, am I a good mom? Am I doing enough? Am I setting the right example for my children? Then you add on top of that all of these other stressors like, are we doing a good enough job of taking care of ourselves? If we have a significant other, are we doing a good enough job of making them feel valued? What about money? And on it goes, and it is enough to make anyone's head spin. So, how do we do our best to be our best, to help our children to grow to be their best? What we can do is build our resilience. Resilience is defined as the capability to withstand or quickly recover from difficulties. And resilient people have the ability to tap into their inner strengths and use their support groups in order to help them to overcome challenges and work through problems. And since this is a faith-based group, since MOPS believes in the Lord, I don't have to shy away from sharing the fact that as believers, our resilience is compounded because of the faith that we have in the Lord. So over the next few moments, I'm going to share with you some Bible scriptures, and I'm going to share with you some data, and then I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can build your resilience and how building that resilience will help you to better cope with stress, help you to have a more positive attitude towards life, allowing you to be happier, and will help you to realize that your best is what is best for your child. Each of you had on your seat a little notebook, and if it's convenient for you, I would love to ask you to write down the following, because I'm going to share with you 3 different ways that we can build up our resilience. The first thing that I want to share with you is, and write this down, I need to stop in order to keep going. Again, I'll repeat that. Now, I see some moms getting up to go. I don't know if they're going to get pencils or whatever. But I need to stop in order to keep going. And I know how ironic that sounds, but isn't it kind of funny how much truth is actually found in irony? I think sometimes when I think about irony, I think about baby sea turtles. Do you know that only 1 in every 1,000 sea turtles that are born each year will actually grow to adulthood? And that's because from the moment that they hatch from their nest on the beach, there are predators that are waiting to devour them. And if you've ever watched this on a National Geographic or anything, it's pretty heartbreaking to see these 2-minute-old creatures as they come out of the nest trying to make this mad dash to the ocean in an attempt to survive. But run they must. Irony is being one of the slowest creatures on the planet and needing to run for your life on the day that you are born. It's ironic that these turtles have to run. It's ironic that in the Bible we're told, "He who humbles himself will be exalted." It's ironic that Jesus said that his power is perfected in weakness. And it's ironic that God sent his son, a king, to serve. So is it really that far-fetched that the irony of resilience, the ability to keep going, is that you need to slow down? How many moms here feel like if you are not constantly doing something, you are not doing anything? I know that I felt that way, like if I just slowed down. So here is the scripture, Ecclesiastes 4:6. Ecclesiastes 4:6 says, "A handful of rest is better than 2 fistfuls of labor and striving after the wind." And here's the data. 60 to 80% of primary care visits are due to stress-related issues. And if we would just take 5 to 10 minutes to just stop, just slow down, we would actually improve our moods and be happier because of it. So I want to share with you, there are a few things that you can do in order to make that time purposeful. And looking at TikTok videos is not one of them. That will actually have the adverse effect. So when you slow down, you can maybe listen to music that makes you feel good, or have some essential oils in a diffuser and use aromatherapy. But there's one other thing that you can do. You can do breathing exercises. And I know how simplistic that sounds. When I say that out loud, it reminds me of when my daughter, who is here by the way, my daughter, when she went to an optometrist appointment, and she was told that she needed to wear eyeglasses, she had to buy some eyeglasses. And she told me, she said, anyone who has to buy eyeglasses are being scammed because other people are out there seeing for free. So, and that's how I feel about breathing exercises. We spend all this money on medications and on these gimmicks to try to help lower our stress levels, but have we ever really given breathing a try? Science has proven that breathing will actually calm our anxiety and help the symptoms of depression. And remember, what was that number one worry that we said we had for our children? It was about them being anxious and depressed. Well, guess what? Breathing has no side effects other than you keep living. So you can actually teach your children to do these breathing exercises as well. And imagine how much further ahead of the game they will be, because breathing will help them to learn how to be in self-control. And like I said, it's going to help those feelings of anxiety and self-depression, or anxiety and depression. The second thing that I would like to ask you to write in your notebooks that will help you when it comes to building resilience is to know that you become what you believe and think the most. You become what you believe and think the most. I have a friend who is a physical trainer. She's the one who's helping me. And my friend has a physical trainer. She's light years ahead of me. And she told me that she had done so good with her nutrition that her physical trainer told her that she could treat herself to a snack. I got happy for her because right now I'm not about that snack life. So I'm living vicariously through her. I said, girl, what did you have? What did you have? She said, Sylvia, I had a tomato. I said, on what, a hamburger? And she said, it was like eating cotton candy. And if you think I'm making this up just to try to prove a point, find me after this. I will show you the text messages. Those were her words. She said cotton candy. And I thought to myself, I don't know what kind of messed up carnivals you went to as a kid, but for me, tomatoes and cotton candy don't taste anything alike. But here's the thing. She had changed her whole mindset about food. She had changed in her mind the purpose of food, why she was eating food, the goodness of food, and she had even changed her mindset about how good different foods tasted. And it allowed her to appreciate something as nasty as a tomato. Here's the scripture. Philippians 4, verse 8. Philippians 4, verse 8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, whatever is worthy of excellence and praise, think on these things." And the data says people with more positive mindsets, they actually do lead healthier and happier lives. It's John Hopkins that actually did a study on this and said that people with positive attitudes, actually, there's a correlation there between even your heart and your mind health. So how do we build more positive attitudes? How do we become more positive? Well, one way is push back. Push back on those negative thoughts that tell you what you don't need to hear. When I was writing my book, I had all kinds of negative thoughts, like I wasn't smart enough to do this, I didn't go to school to do this, it was going to fail. But I pushed back. And when my children were little, I had negative thoughts, like, you're not a good mother. I remember leaving the hospital and thinking to myself, how are they just letting me leave with this baby? This is such a huge responsibility, and nobody is checking me. Nobody's making sure that my house is right or that I'm right. So when you have those negative, let me know, am I weird? Or does anybody else have those negative thoughts? Like, okay, so it wasn't just me. But this is what you do. When you push back against those thoughts, that thought comes in and says, you're not a good mom. You do more than say, yes, I am. You anchor that with a why, for the reasons why you are a good mom. So when you push back and that thought says, you're not a good mom, you say, oh, yes, I am. I'm a good mom because my kids are fed. I'm a good mom because my kids are healthy. I'm a good mom because I read them a book. I'm a good mom because I took them to the doctor, and on it goes. And each one of those reasons becomes a brick in the wall that you are building between yourself and those negative thoughts. In my mind, I can actually see the wall. I'm building it. And no brick is too small or insignificant. When my kids were little, I remember one of my bricks was when my baby girl came to me. I didn't matter what I was doing. She came to me because she was watching Dora the Explorer, and she needed my help to stop Swiper. So I can remember I was on the phone. Yeah, girl. So anyway, we was out at dinner. Oh, hold on a second. Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. We good? Okay. All right. Yeah, girl. So anyway, we went back. So it was a brick in my wall. And you can use those to build them up. The next thing, and this is one of my favorites, and I know when I say it right up front, it's not going to sound like a surprise, but to get a more positive attitude, we need to express our gratitude. We need to express our gratefulness for the things that we have in our life. And one of my favorite ways to do this is in my house, I have this clear box, and it hangs up on a wall in my home. And what I do, and it hangs up in a place where I can see it. So what I do is almost daily, I take a little sheet of paper and I write on that sheet of paper something that I'm thankful for that day, big or small. Fold the paper up, write my name on the outside, put it in the box. Then when my children come over with their significant others as well, before they leave, I have them and their significant others write on a piece of paper something that they're thankful for, big or small, fold it up, write their name on the outside, put it in the box. Then, on the day before Thanksgiving, I go through the box, and I have these little tins. Christmas, they're decorated. Got them from the dollar store, just $1. And each one of us has one of these tins, and I go through and I put everybody's pieces of paper into their tin, along with some confetti and their favorite kinds of snack candies and things like that. And then the tin becomes a part of their place setting at the Thanksgiving dinner table. And then instead of having that whole, oh my gosh, you know how everybody goes around the table and says something they're thankful for? And everybody always says the same thing. I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for our health. And if you're the sixth person at that dinner table, you are searching for something to say that somebody else hasn't already said. That doesn't happen at our house. Right before we have dinner, everybody opens their tins and they start reading. And you can hear little bouts of laughter that goes around the table, or you can hear someone say, oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. And we all read at least our top 2 favorites that come out of this tin. Now, the reason I suggest that if you want to do this, that you get a clear drop box and set it someplace where you can always see it. The reason I suggest that is because throughout the year, as you see it filling up, it will be a constant reminder, even if you don't read them yet, it will be a constant reminder of all the things that you have and your family has to be thankful for. And if you have little ones, so with your little ones, even if they can't write, but they can speak, all you have to do is say, honey, what were you thankful for today? And even let them scribble on it, and then you interpret what that was supposed to say. Fold it up and put it in the box. And then imagine when they're having a bad day, you can point to the clear box and say, honey, remember there are things in there that you have to be thankful for. And then even as they I keep all of mine, and my kids, they keep theirs too. So you have years worth of things that you can remind yourself about what you're thankful for. And it has made such a difference. It's made such a difference in my home. Now, before I tell you what the last thing is that I have to share with you about how you can build up resilience, I want to tell you there was one other thing on how to have a positive attitude. And I can't believe I almost forgot this. Do not compare yourself to anybody. Right? Instagram hurts. I know for a fact that I bet you there's someone in here right now who went on Instagram, saw where another mom posted a picture of her son's first birthday party, and she made her son a 3-foot cake in the shape of JJ from CoComelon. And now you know your son's first birthday is 2 weeks away, and you're upset because you don't know how to make a 3-foot cake in the shape of JJ from CoComelon. Comparison is the thief of joy. Here's what we always need to remember. Okay, I can't make a 3-foot cake in the shape of JJ from CoComelon, but what I can do, I can crochet. My children have some of the most beautiful baby blankets, and even blankets that they have now that you'll probably ever see. They're gorgeous. I'm tooting my own horn. I apologize. But my sister, who is a financial advisor and is very good with money, she can't make a 3-foot cake and she can't crochet. But her son, who is 19, has a credit score of 800. So what we do is we draw on our strength. God, in his infinite wisdom, gave your children to you. If the child you have needed a 3-foot cake, then that child would have been the child of the woman who could make a 3-foot cake. Your child was given to you with your experiences, with your wisdom, with your knowledge. Your children were given to you. My husband, and speaking of birthday cakes, my husband, as he was growing up, his mom always made him, for his birthday, a yellow cake with chocolate frosting. That was it. And guess what? He's in his 40s. Guess what he still likes for his birthday? A yellow cake with chocolate frosting. His mom did me a favor because she set the birthday cake bar about this low. And I love her for it. Every year, I limbo right on up underneath that bar. I go to the grocery store, buy a box of Duncan Hines yellow cake mix, a can of chocolate frosting, come home, get my oil, get my eggs, my water, whip it all up, throw it in the oven, bring it out, frost it, and he is a happy man. Do you think for 1 second that he loves his mother any less because he didn't get a 3-foot He-Man cake? No. He loves her to death, and I love her too. So the point is this: when you do you, which is your best for your kids, that is what they are going to remember. That is what they are going to love. That is what they need in their life. You, with your skills and your knowledge, all wrapped up with your love. What your children do not need is to see you get upset because you see a cake that you know you can't make, and if you tried, it would only end up as a post on Pinterest fails. It's not what they need. Now, before I go on to the last thing about what you can do to build up your resilience, is I want to tell you, these amazing people that you are doing your absolute best to raise, there may come a time when they are adults when you will look at them and you will realize all those years you spent teaching them, things have flipped. Now you're actually learning from them. My son, who is 27, and I know I don't look old enough to have a 27-year-old, but we could talk about that later. My son, who is 27, is one of the kindest people you will ever meet. By watching him and how he interacts with people, how he talks to people, how he instantly makes them feel seen and respected, I have learned so much from him about how to interact with people. Things that I didn't know, I learned through him. And through my daughter, I have learned more about resilience than I think I could have ever learned from reading a book. My daughter, when she was 7 years old, started to complain about pain that she was having in her legs. And then when she was 14, the pain hadn't just contained itself to her legs, it had now moved to her arms, and it was bad. The doctors couldn't find what was wrong with her. And the pain, what made it so bad was she never knew when it was going to come, what caused it, how long it would last, or how bad it would be. And she had this other concern that since the doctors couldn't find the pain, that there might be this part of us that wouldn't believe that she was actually in pain. Then on her 18th birthday, the day after her 18th birthday, she went to the doctor. And she went to this appointment on her own because she was grown. Yes, I use quotation fingers because we know 18 ain't grown. But she went because she was grown. And I went to work. And it was at that appointment that she got some test results back and she found out what was wrong. She called me on the phone. She was told that she had small fiber neuropathy. And in the same breath that was used to give her the diagnosis, she was told that there was no cure. And in that moment, my daughter saw a future flash before her eyes that was filled with pain. Now, I definitely don't have time to go into what small fiber neuropathy is, but not only from my daughter's account, but from other people who have it. They describe it as being set on fire. They describe it as maybe wearing wool socks that have electric wires attached to them. I wasn't there when she got that news. She called me crying. I wasn't there to console her and to let her know that God is bigger than the doctors and that we would not give up and that we would find a way. But here's one thing I want to remind you, moms. We can only do what we can do with the information that we have at hand. And the information that I had at hand on that day said she was okay to go by herself and that I needed to go to work. But every day, I watch this incredible woman that I've raised. I watch her as she fights to go to work. She has lost sleep because of the pain. She has lost jobs because of the pain. She has lost relationships because of the pain. And every single day, she continues to fight. The resilience is strong with this one. So when you work to raise your children and bring them up in the best way you know how, never forget that you very well might be raising the people who are going to someday become your heroes. Now, the last thing that I want to share with you on how we can help to build our resilience is And this is not going to come as a shock to anyone. Spend time with God. You want to know how to fight stress? It's in here. You want to know how to fight anxiety and depression? The answer is in here. And the scripture, Psalms 1:2 says, "But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night." And there is probably not a doctor around, even whether he believes in God or not, who will not tell you that prayer and meditation does have benefits for those who believe in it. I want to ask you, ladies, to do something. We need to see ourselves as our Creator sees us, as these beautiful, strong, independent people that he made just the way we are. He made us the height that we are, the skin color that we are, the hair color that we are, whether it's straight or whether it's curly, and we are unique. And he made us to be exactly who we are. So what you can do, and here's the last tip I want to share with you. When you get home, maybe get a dry erase marker and write on your bathroom mirror, right up there, "I see me as God sees me." And that can be a reminder every day that you look at it. A reminder of how beautiful you are, how valued you are, how unique you are, how worthy you are, and how needed you are. And on those exceptionally rough days, you can look at it and draw resilience and strength from it, especially when your baby tells you he cleaned your toothbrush in the toilet. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so very much. Yes.
First off, I just want to say I love. I absolutely love, and I'm totally stealing that idea of the gratitude box and the little gratitude tins. I wrote that down. I was like starring it. I'm like, we're doing this on Thanksgiving. I love it so much.
Thank you.
For that. On days when maybe you are, I'm not saying you, I'm saying me, maybe everybody else, hopefully I'm not alone, are maybe less than perfect of a mom. Like, there are mornings when I am like, why did I get out the door? And I'm like, just, we're all crazy getting out the door. Are there, like, do you ever come back and say, okay, mommy maybe should not have said that. Here's how I could have done that better. Or how would you approach that situation? Because I want to also build resilience in my own kids. And like Janet, to your point, I want to set the example. And I know I'm not always the example. And I know it's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have any tips on that.
Jordan? Because we're human, and it's going to happen. And I know that there have been times where I have just completely not been myself. And I think in those moments, when the kids are like, whoa, what's wrong with mom? When you recollect, when you regroup, I think that is the perfect time where you can sit down with your baby and say, you know what? Sometimes this mommy, I just had to just kind of talk to them on their level and just kind of let them know, you know what? There's just some things that were going on this morning, but mommy's okay. It wasn't you. It wasn't anything about you. It was me. And everything's okay now. And just kind of move past it. I think that that's all that we can do is acknowledge it, say that it was what it was, and then move past it. And then I think also acknowledge, that while it may be natural and we understand it, it's not necessarily the way we want to handle things, and I think that it's important that they know. And it's not that we just can do this whenever we feel like it and then just come around on the other side and say, okay, I shouldn't have done that, let's move on. It's like, hey, you know what, I recognize that this happened, and we're talking about it, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that it doesn't happen very often, but that there will be those days. That's how I would handle it.
Can I ask one more question about hijacking the microphone? You talked about the breathing exercises. Do you have one that you lean on or could be good for us to teach our kids also, like in those moments when we're feeling like,
Oh my goodness. I don't know if you saw me right before I went on. I was standing over here and I was like, like that, because it really does help. There are times where, like, she'll call me and she's having an episode where her pain is kind of getting bad, and I will just have to slow down and I will have to calm myself. So it's one of those things, and you can go online and there's so many different ways that you can read about how to do this, but it really is, you need to breathe from your diaphragm, because a lot of times when we breathe, you feel your chest going out, but that's not the proper way to breathe. It should be your diaphragm that's coming through, and it should be controlled breathing, like in through your nose and out through your mouth, just slowly, and it's your diaphragm that should be expanding and contracting, not your chest. Okay? Hey, Beth.
I really resonated with the just needing to slow it down and not like having to do everything and trying to pick up one more thing. Do you have particular things that have helped you or suggestions for how to do less, I guess?
All right, so there is the way that is free, and there is the way that we finally splurged. So in my house, this Christmas, we got a massage chair. So I sit in that bad boy and I'm like, just relax. But there are so many different ways. Okay, and y'all are not allowed to judge me. Music is huge. She knows what I'm about to say. Music is huge. It can transport you and take you to a place where it reminds you of when you were a kid. It can make you happy. Just that in that time, I don't listen to music that makes me want to dance. I listen to music that calms me and makes me happy. And the non-judging part comes when I tell you, ask me how I know Sirius XM plays holiday traditions all year long. Uh-huh. Right. It's because I listen to Christmas music when I want to. It makes me happy. It just completely soothes me and calms me and brings me down. Now, the only thing is, like, sometimes I will listen into the car in the middle of July, rolling down the street, have yourself a merry little Christmas. I don't care. The only embarrassing part is, why do I feel ashamed? Because I feel like I need to make sure that I turn it off that station before my husband gets in the car, because I don't want that music blasting. But that's one of the things I do. That's probably my favorite thing to do, is just, I have a spot in my house and I will sit down and I will play music that makes me happy and do the breathing exercises and just let it go and kind of recharge myself for the next stage.
I had one more too.
Okay.
As far as the like spending time with God and meditating, is there a way that you built that into your routine?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So this is the Bible that I use, and I've kind of worked myself into a corner. I can never get rid of this Bible because it is filled with little notes and like Post-its and all this stuff. And what I do is I get up in the morning, and it's evolved, because when I first did it, I used to think, oh, I can't get up any earlier in the morning than I already do. But now what I do is I wake up, and the first hour of my day is spent studying. And I didn't even know what I was going to study. I had no direction. I just got this book and just opened it and started studying. And the reason I do it in the morning is because it sets the tone for the rest of the day for me. I feel like I started my day off right. The other thing is, everybody's asleep. Nobody's bugging me for anything. It's my time, me and the Lord. And one little tip that I have is, when I study, because I journal a lot. And so I have blank paper and I journal. And one of the problems that I would always run into is that when I was making these notes and journaling, I would have a hard time finding my notes later. Like I would read the scripture and I'd say, oh my gosh, I knew I had a thought about the scripture, but I've got all these journals, I can't find it. So what I do now is, in my journal, I have a little code, like 03, like today would have been 032423. So March 24th, 23. And there's a page number in the journal. In my Bible, next to that scripture, I write 032423 in the page number. So then I can go back to I know that I talked about this scripture on March 24th, on the 23rd, and it's in my journal on that day on page 18. And it makes it so easy for me to go back and find what I had written about that scripture.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All the questions are from this side of the room, except for the one. I thank you, ladies, so very much. And I'm going to be here for just a little while longer. I'll hang out. And if you have any other questions that come to your mind later, I'm more than happy to. Oh, okay.
Sorry, where can we get your book? Amazon?
It is on Amazon. I have a couple of copies here with me today. And about the book, it is definitely not your typical devotional. It is, there are stories in there. I'm the oldest of 5. So I called it Living a Parable because there are stories in there that are geared around the experiences that I had growing up with my sisters and my brother, and also as being a mother and a wife. And if you read the reviews on Amazon, you'll find that a lot of people are saying, I laughed out loud. I mean, because I wanted it to be entertaining as well as insightful. So I do have a few copies here with me, and yeah, it is available on Amazon. It's available online at just about anywhere where books are sold. And there's also Kindle, and there's also Audible, narrated by yours truly. So,
What's the title of it?
Living a Parable, Finding Lessons in Unlikely Experiences. And thank you for that. Thanks for asking.